Hey everyone, so I think my voice is audible for all. Okay, so we can wait for a minute and we can start our JavaScript session. Okay, so wait for just a minute. Okay, so if my voice is audible and everything is okay, just give a clear message in the comment box. We can get started our session. Okay, just sure. Okay, fine. So I think will be fine. So we can get start our section. So before getting into the section, so welcome you all for this JavaScript. It's going to be an 4 days workshop where we going to see all yeah where we're going to see about the basics about JavaScript. Okay, so this is all about everything that you need to learn as a basics for a JavaScript developer. Here we're going to teach as much as possible, and also this session is not going to end with the next 4 days, and also it's going to continue with the next week also. Okay, so it is going to continue with the next week also. So in the next week we going to take some of the advanced concept also. Okay, like so much of things is available that is going to be taken. Okay, so if you are new to JavaScript, just give a comment, I'm new here, like that. So if you're new to JavaScript, this session is going to be very helpful, even though if you are experienced in something like I know JavaScript, something a little bit knowledge in programming, fine, very good. And this session will take you out from all the things, and whatever the hustles you have with JavaScript, everything will be rectified here. Okay, from scratch we're going to teach with starts from scratch, and we're going to end up with all the advanced concepts. Okay, so which is necessary. Okay, so which is going to be useful in our daily web development. Okay, so I'm new here, fine, no problem. So here we're going to clear everything from scratch, we're going to teach that. Okay, so I just good evening everyone. Okay, so I just use an compiler. Okay, so I will explain everything, what I'm using, what I'm doing, everything, even what all other topics is going to cover, everything I will just share with you. Okay, just wait, hold on for a minute. Okay, so first thing is about the session. Good evening sir, good evening. I think the students are getting joining now only. The first thing, if you're new here, you're going to learn every all the basics of JavaScript. Okay, and also I mentioned this is going to be taken for 1 hour class. Okay, so 8:30 to 9:30 every day it is going to taken for 4 days, continuous 4 days except the Wednesday. And also next week also this class will continue. That is all about advanced to mastery level, some complex topics in JavaScript we're going to take. Okay, so the minimum like the basics level topics are here with you. So if you are new here, welcome, this is going to be a great section for you and you can learn here. Okay, number one. And number two is if you want a participation certificate, we will provide you. Okay, so we will provide you an attendance link for every 1 hour section. So it will be posted in the chat box anytime. I don't know the time. Okay, please don't ask for the link. Okay, so anytime it may be come. So if it is comes, use that. If you want the participation certificate, you can use that. And if you want to get with the community, you can also come here. Okay, fine with that. Okay, so even though if you have any questions and queries in between the topics, you can comment in the chat box and you can see this multiple shared screens, right? So this is where I see all your comments. Okay, so if you come in the screen, it will come. Don't worry about that. I'm coming here for to see your comments and all. I'm mentioning your names and I just clarify your doubts and all. Okay, so that's it. Cool. Okay, so this section is going to be 4 days, 1 hour, except Wednesday, it's going to happen. Okay, so this is all about that. Anything else we discuss in between the sessions. Okay, let's start with the section. First, what are the topic that we going to cover in this today and next upcoming 4 days? So what we're going to cover means we're going to cover the entire basic topics. I think the every topics that we're going to cover, it is listed in the YouTube description itself, but I explained that what are the topics. So if you are coming to an JavaScript, the main purpose of people coming to JavaScript, it is a language of web, right? So it is the language, so developers, they consider it is the language of internet, right? So it is the language of web development. So 95% or even all the entire websites is considered of JavaScript. Okay, so the main purpose is how can I use JavaScript, a language, as an developer? So how can I use JavaScript in a web development? So that is what the main purpose. So this entire web development is going to take you just going to take you to that only. Okay, so we will go with the basic topics, like we're going to say about what is variables, data types, functions, loops, array, objects. These all are the basic topics, so that these topics are common in all programming language. So even though you know Java, C++, Python, whatever programming language you learn, that's not matter. Okay, so these topics are common, it's going to be common in every language. Same like JavaScript also have this, but the use case is different. Okay, so how many of you know another language in without like I don't know JavaScript, but I don't know but I know Java, I know C++, I know Python. So how many of you students like that? So I already have some experience with some other languages, but I'm new to JavaScript. Like that, you can say like I'm experienced in Java, I'm experienced in C++, something you can say that. But the real thing, the session is, if you don't know any language, like I don't know Java, I don't know C++, even I don't know what is mean by programming language, then people, those who are like that, they can easily understand JavaScript. Okay, so the people who knows Java, Python, and some other languages, they have some difficulties in understanding JavaScript, because JavaScript is like that, it is a weird one. Okay, it is going to be a weird one. But people don't have any programming language experience, they will understand it very easily, because this is going to be your first programming language, then it is going to be mind-blowing for you. Okay, so okay, so then Sethupathi, it's going to be an first journey for you. Okay, so let's get started with JavaScript. Okay, so first, what is mean by this? What is the tool I'm using? What is the software it's about means? It is like a JS bin. I think most of you are aware of code pin, right? So the same like that. JS bin is also an online compiler. So where we can write the code and we can see the result like that. Nothing else. Okay, so you use Visual Studio Code. Fine, use that. Okay, so in production we use the Visual Studio Code. So right now for teaching, I only using JavaScript, JS bin. Okay, so JS bin is nothing but, so whatever the code I'm writing here, it will be displayed here. Okay, so let's go with the basic thing. What is mean by console? How many of you know what is mean by console? Just give a quick comment. What is mean by console? Makes this section more interactive. That is how the section makes that. Okay. Okay, so just give a quick comment. What is mean by console? So if any one of you know console, all the people know console, just give a quick comment. Okay, so what is mean by console? How many it will be going classes? How many it will? So it's going to be 8 days, right? It's going to be 8 days for continuous 2 weeks without Saturdays. Saturday will be some prime live will be there. Like you're going to have a big projects in Saturdays. It will be live. You get I think Google Drive clone is done, and another cloning projects will be there in Saturday. So except Saturday, the next 2 weeks is going to be there. Okay. So let I explain. If you don't know what is console means, like for example, if you go for whatever the page you want to go, just go and right click it, and you can see an inspect icon. So now you can understand like, okay, I know that inspect icon. I use HTML and CSS by using this inspect icon. So where we can see the elements and all. So I know, I'm 100% sure that if you're coming for JavaScript learning, you know about HTML and you learned about HTML and CSS, right? So console is where you can print the result. Yes, console means print output. Fine. So it is like a more shallow grabbing meanings, right? So console is a place where we get errors, right? So that is all up to you. Yes. So we can say like console. So you can get console here. You can go here means you can see the place. So it is like an just consider it is like an place, like an editor. Like just consider that you can see this is a place where we get all our errors, all of our warnings, and also we can use this. We can able to access this place, and we can able to use this place to debug our code. So what is mean by, here comes another technical word, debugging. What is mean by debugging? See, JavaScript or any other programming language, debugging is one of the main pain point. For example, I'm writing a code. I need to know whether the code has written successfully or not, right? So that is called debugging. I need to know whether the code is written successfully or not. So for that, I need to check whether the computer has understood my code or not, right? So that is called debugging. So just consider, without debugging, it will be hectic. Okay, so like I'm writing a 1,000 line of code. So after I'm completed all the 1,000 line, then only I just get the error, means it will be it's going to be a hectic one. Okay, for example, what I'm going to do, I just going to use the JS bin. For example, here you can see I just write something like I say, we can say, right now don't consider this these things. Okay, I say something, I written something, just consider I'm written something. I need to know whether the syntax is correct or not, or if the syntax is wrong, what it will happen, it will throw error. So the place console is the place where all our errors will be thrown. Okay, for example, I will throw some of the errors. How we can throw means, instead of equal to, I just give some colon. Okay, so this is an error, I will explain you. I just right click and inspect, go for the console. Okay, so I just erase it, and I just, here you can see there is run is there. So if I run this, you can see a red color some danger icon is showing, right? So what is mean by this? This is going to be an error. So error is nothing but it is like a hint. Okay, it is like a hint that computer is speaking to, telling to us, like, so you are written something, but I am not able to understand that. Can you please check this line? You can see in your Visual Studio it shows the error, like, can you please check this line? I'm not able to understand. Please go through that line and write correct syntax. For example, equal to is going to be the right syntax. If I write equal to, then it's going to be a right syntax. So if I run again, now you can see this error is still there, which means it's the page is not get reloaded. That is why the error is not go. So I will refresh that and I will run again. Now you can see the page, it doesn't show any error. And this yellow color is all about warnings. Okay, so the yellow color is all about warnings. So warnings means nothing that we need to worry. Okay, so it's up to the this pin, JS pin. Okay, so only thing you need to worry is all about the errors. So if you get something in red color, that is going to be an error. So you need to check that line and you need to rectify it. Okay, so console is a place where we can see all our errors, and also we can debug it, and also we can use this place. How can we use this place means, for example, if I say 2 plus 4, you can see it will give the answer 6. So this is not only a place that shows error, but also it is a place where we can able to access and we can able to debug it. How can we use this? So for accessing console, you need to use one of the method. Okay, so remember the word method. So right now, don't confuse what is method, what is something. No, don't confuse with that. You need to access that console. You need to use this thing. Just consider this is an method, default method that is available in JavaScript, like that. Okay, so console.log. This is a method. By using this, we can able to access the console. How can we able to access means, whatever the thing you give inside this log, it will be displayed in the console. For example, I giving a name. I just give a name like this. Okay, after that I just click inspect, go for the console, and I just refresh it and I run it. You can see the whatever the name I given, it is displayed in the console. So we can, by using this console.log, what we can able to do, we can able to access the place. So by accessing that, we can able to debug the code. For example, I do something, I return something wrong. What can I do? I use console.log. So I check each and every line whether everything is perfect, everything produces the same result. Like that we can check, we will go through it. So right now you need to understand, console.log is a method that by using that method, we can able to access the console, and whatever the thing we are giving inside the console, it will be produced here. Okay, so that is one thing. And another thing is, everything in javascript is an object. Okay, remember this sentence. After some days we will go through it. Okay, so just remember the sentence, everything in javascript, it's going to be an object only. Okay, I think from till it's fine, right? So we are streaming, video is blurred. I think today's video is good. Okay, so just use some of the high quality, like you need to check your internet connection. Okay, that's it. Okay, yeah, fine. So now what we're going to do, this is going to be first thing what you need to understand, console. So by using that only we going to check it. So first topic in our basic session is about variables. Okay, so whatever the programming language you go, the variables will be there. So what is mean by variables? Variables is nothing but it is like a container. What is this? Just remember the word container. It is nothing but it is a box. Just consider it is for metaphor, you can just say box. So it is just a box, so where we can store data. That's it. So variable is like a box where we can store the data and we can access it whenever we want. That's it. Access it whenever we want. Okay, so this is the thing you need to understand. So let's see how to create a variable. Okay, so first, what is a variable? Variable is nothing but a box. A box, inside the box we can put some data, like in a cover. Okay, so we can put something inside that and we will pack that. So whenever we want that, we take that pack and we will get it out. So that is what the variable is. Okay, let's see how to create a variable. So for creating a variable we need several things. Okay, for creating variable we need some of the elements to create variable. So by using that only the computer will understand, okay, so you are asking me to create a variable, so creating a container and I need to store that variable. How can I tell the computer to understand that? So for that, first thing you need to use the keyword. So what is the keyword means? So the keyword are reserved words. Reserved words. So these words are speaking to the computers, like if I use that words, it will understand. Okay, for example, for creating variable we have keyword, for creating a function we have a keyword, for creating a loop we have a keyword. So if I call, that means the computer will understand, okay, you are going to create a variable. Okay, fine, that is how the computer will understand. Okay, right now just understand, keywords are reserved words and we need an identifier. Identifier means like we can able to create more than one variable, right? So we can able to create more than one box, more than one container. So each container has a unique identification mark, right? So then only I can able to access the data properly. For example, I have a variable that has the name of name. I have another variable in that I store my brother's data, so in that also it has, and the label is going to be a container. So then it's going to be messed with that. So what we need to do, we need to give a unique name for all the container. Okay, unique naming for variable. So that is going to be an identifier. So the name itself it suggests. So identifier is nothing but to identify that variable. Okay, unique name for variable. That's it. So the third one is about, of course, data. We need to store some data, right? So it is about the information. It may be anything. We will speak about that. Okay, for example, let me create some variables and we can understand that. So what are the reserved words that are available to create variable? So we have let, we have const, we have var. So we have actually three things to create a variable. Okay, so three keywords, remember that, keywords. So we have let keyword, we have const keyword, we have var keyword. So what this three things is going to do? So the three things is going to create a variable only. So then why we need three things? We can go with only one thing, right? So we can only use let, we can only use const, we can only use var. Why it has so much of difference? Meaning it has some specification, right? So something is different. Let is different from const is different from var. So some difference is there. So that we discuss later. So right now I'm going to use let. Okay, so just first we create a variable and then we see a difference. Okay, so I just go for using let. Okay, so the next what we need an identifier. So what is mean by an identifier? It is a unique name that we given for a container. For example, just consider this box is going to be a variable and the sponge I have, this is going to be the data I'm going to store. Okay, so I'm giving a label to it. So I'm writing sponge. So whenever I want the sponge, what I will do, I will take that take that box and I will see that, right? So I have the same, like this box, I have more than 100 box, 200 box, like that. So if I want to identify the sponge, what I can do, I can read the label in whatever the name I have written, and I will take that, right? So that is the concept. Same like that, I'm going to store a data. So for that, I need to give a unique name to identify that data. For example, I give a name, okay, name itself, like that. So I just give an identifier name. So it is like something we giving a label for that container. Okay, so that is going to be an identifier to identify the data. So now what we need the actual data, sponge, right? We need that. How can we do that? First, what a container is going to be, container, it stores some data. So for that, in another language we can say assigning. Okay, so for that we need to use the equal to. So whatever the data I'm going to given after this equal to, that data is going to store inside this container. Okay, so right now when I use the let, JavaScript creates a container, and in that container it gives a label for that. So that is going to be the name. So I need to store some data. So what data I going to give, I just going to say the twd, like this, and semicolon. So in JavaScript, semicolon is optional only, but it is a good thing to give. Okay, so if you have experience with some other programming language, it is mandatory, it throws some error, right? JavaScript, it is loosely typed language, so if you can avoid it, you can go with, but it is good way to give that. Okay, so right now we have created a variable. how can i how can I know that the variable is created or not? So I write as a line, I just write a line that is in English, right? So we have written let name is equal to the twd, we have written it. How can I know that computer is created or not? Computer is created a container, and the container, we can the container we have a data of the wd. How can I know that? So for that, here comes debug. How can I we know that? So debugging is here. So for debugging, what we can use, console.log. So we go for the console.log, and whatever I'm calling inside the console log, it will display the output in the console, right? So this is the browser console, but I'm using JSBin. Here you can see the JSBin is also having some consoles, right? So we are going to use this console. Okay, so here I just call name. So what is this name? The name is the identifier. I already said that. So whenever we want, we can able to access it, right? So right now I am accessing. So if the computer is created this container, so it will going to tell me this value of the container. Okay, clear? I will run it. You can see the twd is run, which means the computer is understand our code. So computer is successfully understand our whatever the code I have written here, and it will display the answer in the console.log. If I access it, it will be accessible. Okay, so if I, for example, if I remove this equal to and I give something like that, this language, so I written something, right? So this is not a proper syntax, right? If you want to create a variable, you need to give equal to, you need to assign it. You are not able to, like, you don't use this semicolon. So this is something the computer will not understand that. So if I run again, then you can see an error. I'm not able to understand what you are writing, please check that line of code. So it gives me an error. So if I change this, if I run it, it will be work properly. Okay, means error is nothing but it is a hint that computer telling, this is a way that computer speaking to us, like, hey guy, I'm not able to understand what you are speaking, please check this, like that. Okay, so if a person from China, he is listening to Hindi, he don't know the language, how he will respond. The same like that, we need to speak with the right syntax to the computer, so then only the computer will understand. Okay, so the browser, that's it, fine. So this is the way of creating a variable. So we have covered so much of things, like little bit. If you are new here, it will be so much, fine. So let is a keyword, and name is going to be an identifier, and this is going to be the data. So the data can be anything, you can give a number, we will see that what are the data types. And now you can understand what is console log. So console log is used to check whether, okay, so this line of code I written, whether it is written or not, whether it is created or not, I can able to check that. Okay, I hope that it will be easy for you. If variable and identifier are same, I think you are asking both are same or not. same only. Okay, so variable is nothing but variable is a container. Identifier is the naming of the container. So people used to call variable x, variable y, or variable name like that. But the actual thing is identifier. So we need to that actual naming is identifier. But what is the whole process? Whole process is this is a variable. So if I say variable means it is a container that contains a data. Okay. So identifier means it is just the naming of that variable. Okay, just giving a name of, so like if you are a variable and your name is going to be the variable like identifier. Okay, so that's it. Okay, fine. I think no other questions asked. Fine. So I think it's fine will be. So now let just deep into it this line. So you just understand this line of code. You probably completed 35 to 40% of JavaScript. This concept is completed. Yes, of course, seriously. So do I have material about this section? Sure, I will share the material where you can get those reference. We have a detailed structure blogs is available. Okay, I will share that to you at the end of the section. Okay, sure, I will share. I will do that. Okay, fine. So what I say, 30% of the session is covered, but and remaining 70% is going to be associated with this 30% only. Let I explain how we can expand this line. For example, come to let. Why all of some of them has a doubt? Why we have let, const, and var, right? So let's speak about that, and then we move on to next. So why we have let, const, and var? First, just blindly follow me. Don't use var. Okay, so we have an var is nothing but JavaScript was introduced in 1995. So in that time, var is the only keyword that is used to declare a variable. So this let and const are introduced in 2015, after 2015. Okay, so modern JavaScript, we call that as a modern JavaScript. So this var is a older version. So in that older version, we have some issue with this. We have some problem with this var. So we avoid that. Okay, so we avoiding that, and right now we are using let and const. Okay, we will speak about what is the problem and what is the issue we have with var. Is it using var is helpful or not? We will talk about that, but right now don't use var. Just forget about var. Okay, so that's it. Okay, so in modern JavaScript they introduced two things. One is going to be let, one is going to be const. So what is the difference between let and what is the difference between const? Or let I explain. For example, here what is mean, what I have declared, this is called as declaring variable. Declaring variable meaning I am declare a variable. So I just created a container in my browser, and in that container I store some data. So we can able to throw the sponge outside, and if I want to store the pin inside, it is possible. So this is called as reassigning the variable. So what is mean by that? Right now I don't want this data, I need to reassign it. How can I do that? Means you just call name, just give a equal to, and you can say whatever the value you need to assign. For example, instead of twd I can say the web dev. This is called as reassigning. So first what I say to the computer, hey, listen to me, I need a variable, I need a container, and give the container name as name and store the value the twd. And after it's created, I'm telling again to the computer like, hey, so you have a variable name, right? So inside that name I think the twd is that, so just throw it off. Okay, so just leave it, and you need to replace that with the web dev. You need to reassign it. Okay, so now what happened, this the twd is replaced with the web dev. So if I clear it, if I run it again, here you can see it is get replaced. Okay, so this is called reassigning. Okay, so if you want to reassign, you can able to reassign it. Fine, I think its concept is clear. Okay, so by using let we can able to use this, but instead of let I use const. What happened, if I run the code, it will throw me an error. Why means const is representing constant variable. So normal English, if I say constant, what is mean by unchangeable, right? Same like that. So if a variable is declared with the name if the keyword constant, so then that variable is never changeable, so we cannot reassign it. How it is helpful? Sir, please tell me like how it is going to be helpful. Why let us even why we need to reassign? Why we don't want to reassign? Let I come to the point. For example, most of the cases, um, in some cases we need to reassign a variable. Like for example, like I have a name. Um, I get a name from an user, and the user have some of the spaces, like it has you can see some white spaces is available. So I don't want this white spaces, I need to remove it. So I use something and I reassign it, and instead of creating a new variable, what I can do, I can reassign it and I can store it like this. So reassigning is common. So why I want to use const, in which case I want to use const. For example, just think about that. You have a data, a original data. Okay, so you have an company data. So in that company data you have employees, and that employees in that the data is combines of all the employee details, address, phone number, and all. Okay, so just consider like that. This is going to be a source data, original data. Okay, not a xerox, it is a original data. What happened if I change the data? What happened, the original data get removed, right? So the entire application get messed up, right? So const is used when we handle some data that cannot be changed. We don't want to change the data, that is a source data, I don't want to change that. So we can use const. In that case, even some other developers who are the same project, they will understand. They will, if they try to change that variable, or they use that variable, unfortunately what happened, it will throw an error. The reason is because const we are already assigned to it, so the const has a constant variable, so we don't want to use that. So if I use let, it is going to be reassignable. Okay, so do we okay, fine. So I think fine with that. So now you can understand what is let and what is const. Just understand this only. I will explain what is the difference between let and const, and the difference between what. So it is totally a different thing. There is so much of things we need to discuss before we go in for the discussing. Okay, so this is the thing. I will give a sum up. So variable is a container and we can store data. Keyword is necessary, identifier is necessary, data is necessary. So we have keyword is a reserved words. Why I say reserved words means these words are only used for its purpose only. For example, const is used to declare a variable, let is used to declare a variable. You are not allowed to use the reserved words. For example, I'm not able to use something, I'm not able to use an reserved keyword as an identifier. You cannot use, it will throw an error. Okay, so we cannot use for our purpose, it will use only for the recommended like what it meant for, right? We need to use that only. Okay, okay, fine. So the keyword is done. Come to identifier. How can we if whatever name I can able to give, like x, yes fine, you can able to give. Like y, yes fine, you can able to give. So whatever the name you want to give, you can give, but some rules and regulations is that. So what is the rules and regulation? So I mentioned some of the main points. One is a variable is never start with number. Like I say 1 2 name, this is an invalid identifier, we cannot use this. If I say 1 2 something like this, clear it, and I run it, you can see an error. So an identifier, a variable name, an identifier should not start with number. So if I use something called as dollar sign instead of number, I use something called as dollar sign, clear it, run it, you can see it will be work. Okay, so what are the things you can use means, you can use dollar sign, you can use underscore for starting, an identifier, but it is always recommended to start with a letter, something like this. And if you want to add a number at the end, fine, you can add. You can if you want to add a number at the middle, you can add, but do not use this something called as this special characteristic. Okay, so you are allowed to use this dollar sign and this underscore. Okay, so this is possible. Don't use something a special sign or something like this, this is not a valid one. Okay, so the thing is here, for creating an identifier, it should start with the number. Sorry, it should not start with the number, it should start with a letter or underscore or symbol. These signs are valid and no other signs are valid. Okay, so remember that. And other thing is, it is a case sensitive one. So what is mean by case sensitive? For example, instead of name, I give name, I just give capital N, and here I give small n. I call for small n. Here it will show me undefined where it is declared. Just a minute. Okay, we reassigned it. run it. Here you can see JSBin out, so it shows something weird. This is happens in JSBin. We go for console. Okay, if I say console.log_len, so it usually produces undefined. So the meaning is both are not same. Why? Because it is case sensitive. So if you use capital N, here also you need to use capital N. If I run this, you can see it will be work. If you use some other than like if you are using something else, it will not recognize it, so it will shows me like no, I'm not able to access it. So can you check that? So these are the rules you need to understand. Okay, so I think this from this you will find fine. Okay, next we go for the data. Okay, so coming to the data, so what are the other names that we call for a data? So what are the other names we have? We have information, right? We have information, we have values, right? We can call something like that. So the data is nothing but it is a value. So it has several types. Okay, so we can able to store not only number, we can able to store the letter, sorry, not only the string like the letter one, we can able to store a number 12. If I run this, you can see 12 will be displayed, and we can able to store some other things. We can able to do that. So we can able to store variety of data. If I say variety means we can able to store number of data, right? So they are called as types. Okay, so we have so much of types in storing data, so that is called as data types. Okay, so that is going to be our next thing, like next topic, data types. Okay, so just remember these things, like variable is nothing but a container, and we can able to store data and let and const difference and identify your rules. Equal to sign is must, and we can able to store a number of data, like more data. So that more data is listed out. We have some of the list, and that has several types. So this data has some of the types, and that is called as data type. Okay, so the data type is the main important concept. So what are the data types that are available? So we have two categories. One is going to be primitive data type. This is one category, and we have reference data type. This is another category. First we see about primitive and reference later, and we see about what is the difference between them and all. Okay, so in primitive data type we have actually 6. We see that what all are the thing. We have string, we have number, string number, we have boolean, we have null, we have undefined, something like this. Okay, so you say 6, and why you type only 5, right? So there is another thing is called symbol, but this is not we are not use it in our production, like we don't use that. Okay, so symbol is a newly introduced one and highly advanced one, and it is used to show some of the anonymous data. Anonymous means like the data that is not that comes from outside, we need to store that, we can able to do that, and this is store and unique value. So that is how. So don't confuse with this. Right now we don't need this, so 99.9% we don't use that. So that is why. So just consider symbol is newly introduced one, I think 2021, right? That is introduced. Okay, so these are the very essential and very important data types in the primitive data types. We need to think. That is going to be a string, that is going to be a number, and we going to be a boolean. And in reference data type, here we have an object. So now you have a recall. I say like JavaScript, everything is an object. I say a sentence, you need to remember the sentence, right? So JavaScript, everything is going to be an object, same like that. So it comes under reference. So once we clear this, what is object and all, we will clear with all our confusions and all. Okay, so right now we go with the string and the primitive data types, number, boolean, undefined, what all are this, and then we move for objects. Okay, okay, so for that what we need to, I just remove this variable concepts. Okay, we go for data types. So let's us create a string. What all are called as how to create a string data type. Okay, how to create a variable that contains a string data type. How can we create? For example, I use let. Here what we can name, we can name anything. Here we can say x, fine, no problem, equal to, and everything that comes under double quotes, single quotes, is considered a string. That's it. Yes, it's a string. That's it. So actually what is meant by a string? String is nothing but a sequence of words. Like we have, if I write Hari, this is a sequence of word, right? It is going to be a sequence of word, H-A-R-I, sequence of word. Okay, mostly it represent a sequence of word, the wording letters or string. But just remember double whatever, even though some other thing that comes under double quotes means or single quotes means, it is also considered as a string. Okay, for example, here I write Hari like this. How can I check whether that given variable has is a string or not? How can I check? So for that we have something called as type of. So how we have console.log, right? So console.log, what it will do, it will log whatever the answer we give in the console, right? The same like that type of method just identify a variable, identify the data type of a variable. Okay, so that is what it will do. Let will go and we will say, we will call for it. I just say in the console I need to log something. What I need to log means X. Okay, if I run it, the value will be displayed. I don't want the value. I need to know what is the data type it was. So for that I just say type of X. I clear it and I run it. Here you can see it shows me string. Now we can understand, okay, so we have covered a string. Okay, so which data type it belongs to? It belongs to string data type. And you can given something like this, and also you can wrap this type of method with double like parenthesis also. If you want, you can do that. Instead of that, you just give a space and just do like this for type of also, it will be work. Whatever you want to give, you can give. Okay, it is a string. Okay, so obviously it is going to be a naming word, and it is also wrapped in double quotes. Is going to be a string. What if I give a number inside a double quotes? So what is the data type it's going to be? So anyone have a hint? Give the hint. What is going to be? Whether it is going to be a number, 23 is a number, or 23 is a string. Can you give a comment here? Okay, so give your answer here. I will check it later. So I already mentioned that whatever the value, it is not necessary. If it is wrapped with double quotes and single quotes, then it is considered as a string. So even though 23 is a number, if I clear, I run it, you can see the value of X is again is going to be a string, right? Instead of this double quotes, I remove the single quotes and I just run it. You can see it is going to be a number. It is a number data type. So the type of operator returns the number data type. So if it is wrapped with double quotes or single quotes, then it's going to be a string. Okay, so this is the only thing you need to understand. Fine with that. So okay, so this is all about string, you need to understand. So then what comes to number? So for number, everything is a number. So if you know some other programming language, the numbers are splitted. So they have integer, they have booleans, they have some other things, like. So here number is a number, so even it is going to have a dot. If it is in decimal, if I clear and check the data type of it, it is going to be a number only. If I give it in minus value and clear it, run it, it is going to be a number value. If I give it in positive value, like a whole value, if I run it again, it's going to be a number only. Okay, so whatever that are numbers, but remember that it is not wrapped with or enclosed with double quotes. Okay, so that is the only thing which is going to be a number. Okay, so the next thing is about boolean. So what is going to be a boolean means true or false, nothing but true or false. For example, if I say true, this is a boolean value. If I run it, it's a boolean. So it has only two things, boolean and then false. You can see this is boolean. Okay, so string are a sequence of characters, everything that wrapped with double quotes and single quotes. Number are numbers. So if it is not wrapped with double quotes and single quotes and it is a number minus plus decimal, whatever, it is a number. And booleans are true, maybe it's true, maybe it's false, nothing, we don't want that. It is false, true and false. Okay, so whatever it may be, true or false, it's going to be true, false only. Okay, so this is going to be the third one. So then what is going to be a null? So null is saying nothing. So what is the meaning of it? Nothing, right? So null is nothing but nothing. So but here is a weird thing is here. If I say null, it will produce us which data type. I will say ask for which data type it is. It is produces object. Wait, how many of you feel this is how many of you feel the data type of null is an object? So can you give an explanation? Like it is okay to be an object? Just think about that. Okay, wait a minute. Have a discussion. Like I say data types split it into two things. One is primitive and one another one is reference. In primitive data types is straight opposite to reference data types. Okay. In primitive data types, we have string, numbers, and boolean, and null and undefined. If I check the data type of null, it it gives a value of object. You can see object is a reference data type. A primitive data type gives an data type of an object. How many of you feel this is weird? How many of you feel like this is weird? I'm not expecting this thing. So here comes the JavaScript weirdness. Okay, so the person who created JavaScript is Brendan. So he himself accepted that it is a blender mistake. Yeah. So I again tell you the word. Everything in JavaScript is going to be an object only, but here it is a blender mistake only. Even if it is a string, boolean, number, everything is an object only. I will explain, come to the point. Okay, but when I use the type of operator and I use null, it shows me an object. It is a mistake. So the person who created JavaScript, Brendan, he is also accept that. And also they like it is very big combo. You can may ask, there are so much of updates comes, like why they don't change that. It is more complex than seeing that. Okay, so when you go through some other level, you can able to understand that. I will tell you that. So it's just more complex to change the data type of a null. Okay, so even I was also thinking that when I was started to code, but when I just understand the complex behind that, I was like, okay, so just right now understand null is a mistake. This data type is not an it comes an object. It is not a, it's just a mistake. Okay, it occupies memory. Yes, yes. So here comes, right. If I say null, whether it is occupies a memory, yes, of course it occupies a memory. What it is saying means, okay, here you can see this is a box. Okay, this is a box. I occupied the memory. What is the difference between string? It's like the CSS. The difference between double quote string and single quote string is it like in CSS? No. If you use double quotes, that is also a string. If you use single quotes, that is also a string. And null, okay, so I think this is clear. Okay, so null, yes, of course it occupies. Okay, so it will occupies the memories also. When you store a variable, it will store null, nothing empty in that. It will store, but it actually store a value. So here comes another thing. So I think the Dolphin King asked a good question. So if it is has no memory, like for example, it is not store anything, only the variable is declared. For example, equal to like this, then it is going to be an undefined. Okay, so what undefined means? A variable is created, but it is not. It doesn't have any memory space. Like it is not storing any data in the memory. Okay, so that is why undefined. So it goes there, nothing in there. Why are you calling me? You just declared, but you don't store anything inside. Why are you calling me? It is just like taking an empty box. Okay, so nothing inside. Why are you calling me? That is the reference. Okay, that is the difference. But when I say null, that is totally different. Null is just occupy the space. Okay, but it is meaning of that null is empty, like not empty, like we can say nothing, but it has something. It has, like, it occupies that space. Okay, so that is the difference. Okay, fine with that. So these all are string, numbers, booleans, null, and undefined. And you may ask type of what is meant by undefined, right? So undefined is nothing but if your variable is declared but without any value, it is undefined. And also you can declare with undefined, that is also undefined. If you declared with an undefined, that is also undefined. But make sure that you wrapped it with the double quotes or single quotes, then it's going to be a string. Fine. Fine, I think fine. Okay, so these all are the primitive data types. So then come to reference data type. So what is the difference between primitive data types and reference data type? Just right now understand, primitive data types can hold only one value. Reference data types can hold more than one value. And some people know JavaScript, I know that. It is not only the difference. Okay, just understand, it is not only the difference. The main difference is something else. Okay, so that is we need to discuss later. So right now understand, just consider if I want to store a list of data, for example, like this, and I need to give store another variable like this. You can see it throw me an error. So you cannot use something command, you cannot able to store a list of data. So for that, what we can use this reference data type. So the reference data types is like we can able to store multiple data. We can store a list of data. Okay, so that is going to be a reference data type. Okay, we can able to store more than one data type. Okay, more than one data value. Okay, so in object we have further, like in object we have array, we have also function, but don't go for function right now, just understand. In reference data type, object is the main thing, but array is also an object, but due to its vast use case, array we have several methods for array too. So we're going to discuss about array also in this class. Okay, right now see how to create an array, and then we move on to the object. Okay, so what is mean by an array? Okay, array is nothing but we can able to store list, is nothing but list of data we can able to store. So how can we create array? We can use const. Okay, so it's most commonly we use const. You can use let, no problem, but it is a list of data, so we don't want to change the data. So because it is a list of data, every data is very important, so we don't want to change the data, so that is why I declared in a const. Okay, I just say like person equal to, for creating array you need to use the square bracket. Okay, inside this whatever you want to give you can give. For example, I give a name Hari, and you can use multiple data type also. You can use number, yes of course you can store number, and you can store boolean like this, true, yes, and you can store null, and you can store undefined. See, in array it is a list of data. Okay, it is a list, we can able to store list of data, and that data may be different data types. It may be a number, it may whatever, and you can store string itself, yes you can able to store. If you want to store number itself, yes of course you can able to store. If you want to store boolean, you can able to store that. Okay, so likewise you can use either similar, fine, or you want to use a mix. Mostly it comes as a mixed copy. You can use that mixed copy too, like how I use Hari and 23, true, null, undefined. Let I console log it and I display how it will be. Okay, I just say console.log, and you need to display the person. Okay, like how we access a variable, right? So if I call a person in a normal primitive data type, what it will show? It will show the value of that variable. Same like that, if I clear and I run it, okay, so here you can see it returns the entire array. If I go for inspect, go for console, here you can see, I think this place you can able to see. Just leave it, run it. Here you can see this is actually an array we have created, and you can see it's like a list. Here if I click this, you can see the dynamic view of the array. Okay, here you can see Hari, 23, true, null, undefined is available. So this is how I think some person asked for memory, right? Memory heap. So this is how in memory it gets stored. Okay, so fine. So what all are this 0, 1, 2, 3, 4? So this is all considered as an indexes. So what is mean by indexes means, so indexes is the place we are giving more than one value, right? So indexes is the place where those data are stored. For example, a memory is created. In that memory, we have this indexes like 0th index, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4, like that. So if you give a first value, it is go and store in a 0th index. If you given another value, it go and store in the first index. If you given another value, it go and store in the second index. Like that, it will get stored. So here the order is very important. So whatever the, for example, if I give 23 first, then what happened? This 23 is get stored in the 0th index. Okay, so that is how it just gets stored. And also you can see something called as length. So what is this means? It just count how many data, like how many values are inside the array. For example, we have Hari 1 2 3 4. So the length starts from 1, like how we count 1 2 3 4, like that we start from 1, right? So 1 2 3 4 5, so totally 5 is there, so it shows me the length 5. It's nothing but a count of an array. And here 0 to 4, it is a indexes. So indexes is a place where we store, where that data is get associated. Okay, so make sure that length is always one time greater than the index. The reason, indexes starts from 0 and length starts from 1. When we count, we starts from 1, but indexes starts from 0. So you can see, if the length is 1000, then the index occupied is 999, right? So this is how you need to, this is what you need to learn now. Okay, so why I say this? Because right now you just see, if I call the person, you can see it throws me the entire array, right? It's just throw me an entire array. What if I want only the first value, I want only the third value, or only the undefined, I want only 23? How can I access it? So for accessing it, you can use this indexes. So that is how the indexes is useful. You can see in 0 it is Hari, 1 it is 23, 2 it is true. So by using this indexes, you can able to access that. So how can we use that? Let I explain it. So for accessing an individual value, you need to give square bracket when you are calling that variable. Okay, because it is going to be an array. We have person, so I called a person and with a square bracket, and inside you can give what index you want. For example, I want Hari, so the index starts from 0, right? So I just give 0 and I clear it and I run it. You can see Hari is displayed. If I want 23, what I can do, I just say 1. I remove this, clear, run, you can get 23. So likewise, if you want to access an individual variable, you can able to access it. Okay, so likewise you can able to access the array of it. I think, is there any other doubts? So these are all the topics. Now we just see something little bit also. If you have any other doubts apart from this topic also, you can ask in the comment section. Okay, I will respond to you. Okay, because I think the attendance form is shared to you. Please fill that attendance form. uh, it is mandatory for getting certificates. Okay, so if you have anything other doubts also, you can ask. Okay, so by using this, we can able to like we can assign it to a new variable and we can dynamically use it also. How we can use it? For example, I just say let d type equal to, here I say person. If I say person, it is going to be an array. If I say dot 0, then what it is going to be? It is going to be Hari, right? Here I can say my name is something like this and like this. Okay, so what is this plus will do means, it will just concatenate. If I say Hari plus Prasad, it will add it, Hari Prasad. If I say H with D with the TWD, it just concatenate. That is how I say my name is, it is a string, obviously we know that. And here you can see, because it is wrapped in double quotes. And here I say person, right? So person, what is mean by 0? So it is also going to be a string, so it is go for an array and it check for the 0th index, so that is going to be an array. So what it happened, so if I call the detail, it will show me my name is Hari, it will going to display it. Let me check it whether it is correctly added or not. I say d type, you can see my name is Hari, successfully added. So likewise you can able to dynamically able to it. Okay, so these all are the topics for data is enclosed within double quote is known as array, right? Yes, yes, in short form we can say like yes, of course, So this is the syntax. This is syntax like a computer need to understand, right? So I am going to use an array. So you need to use a double quotes, square brackets. So if you are going to use an object, so for that we use curly braces like that. So the answer is yes, of course. So that is going to be a right one. Okay. So any other doubts we have? So till now, what are the topics we have covered? Means we have covered the variables, we have covered the data types, we have covered like primitive data types we have covered, and we have listed out all the essential things and all. So I think that 35% is completed. So all other 65% is little bit associated with this, like how methods, what is objects, how can we use the default methods, and how we can create everything, how can we use the operators, how can we use the functions in data type, how can we use loops in variables. Everything is going to be associated here. So if you are new to program, and this is this, if you understand this, you can able to go with further. Okay, so we can able to do that. Okay, whatever the things that is going to become, we can able to solve that. Okay, fine. Okay, so that is for today. So if you have any other doubts, you can contact me in LinkedIn, you can do me, but don't give an code and try to debug me. Okay, just if you have any other doubts, means just call, I just clarify it, but don't come in LinkedIn and ask to debug the code. Okay, so that is not possible. Okay, so I think everyone is in the WhatsApp group itself. If you have any other further doubts, you can contact us. And also I say like the notes where you can get, means you can go for a website, the webdev.tech. So there is a website is available, the webdev.tech. I think it is in updation. Okay, so but you can check it out, and here you can get all the notes. Okay, so where you can get all the notes and all. I'm not sharing the screen, sorry. The webdev.tech, this is the website. You can get all the, like, more number of blogs is available, you can get that. Okay, and also the, if you are new here, if you want to join with our WhatsApp group, there are more, I think 45 46 WhatsApp groups are available. If you want to come and join with our community, just come join with our community, and if you want any doubts and all, you can ask that. Okay, so if we want to convert this array to a string, how can we do that? We can be able to do that. We have several methods and all. You can that is going to be our next day topic. So that is also going to be the next day topic. We're going to use some of the methods to do that. We can going to use default methods, and then we do how to convert an array to string to array, number, like that. We have so much of things. We're going to discuss that in tomorrow chat, and I think if you attend tomorrow section, you will get that. Okay, so see you guys, see you in the next live session for tomorrow 8:30. Okay.